أما بعد وهو الذي أنشأ لكم السمع. Imagine the Qur'an was just revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He learnt it, and now he's come to you, or rather he came to me and he recited it to me. I listened first, right? Yes. And after I would write it down so then I can see it. I would memorize it. Now I'm coming to teach you. Just imagine that. Or even when you're in your home and you're about to recite or memorize an ayah. Try to live that. Listen to it first. Today you have the technology available for you. You can easily listen to the ayat. Imagine you're in the setting, you're at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How would you be learning the Qur'an? One of the Sahaba would be coming to you and telling you, follow the Quranic methodology. وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. Listen to the ayat, listen to the explanation, to the ta'wil and the tafsir of it. And then, وَالْأَبْصَارَ, you look at it. When you look at it, by the way, absara and basira is insight. Because once you've been able to comprehend and understand, Allah says in Surah Yunus, وَمِنْهُمْ مَن يَسْتَمِعُونَ إِلَيْكَ. There are those who come to you and listen to you, O Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The people used to gather around him. أَفَأَنْتَ تُسْمِعُ الصُّمَّ وَلَوْ كَانُوا لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. Are you going to guide or try to make the deaf hear when they cannot use their aql? Allah then says in the next ayah, وَمِنْهُمْ مَن يَنْظُرُ إِلَيْكَ. There are those who come and they look at you. They used to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with their own eyes. أَفَأَنْتَ تَهْدِي الْعُمْيَ وَلَوْ كَانُوا لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. But are you going to guide the blind, though they refuse to see the truth? There's absara, there's basira. Absara is to see. You can see the ayat, you can see the words of Allah in the mushaf. But what's basira? Insight. When you've been able to use your aql, when the Qur'an is explained to you, meaning when you're listening, the sam'a part, the first part, you're not reading, you're not looking, you're just listening, you're using your aql to try and comprehend what Allah is saying. Then once you comprehend it, it will enter your heart. That's where the basira, insight is. When the Qur'an is in your heart, when you have basira, insight, that's when you can see the ayat of Allah around you. When you look at trees, you no longer see trees and plants. You see the signs of Allah. كَذَلِكَ الْخُرُوجِ. At springtime when the trees are coming to life, you'll be like, I'm going to be resurrected just like that. Because Allah says so in the Qur'an. The next, we start looking at the sky. We don't just look at clouds anymore. We look, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Then they say, رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا سُبْحَانَكَ فَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. How does that relate? Because look at your problems in your life. Whatever happens in your life, you look at the skies, it's vast, it's huge, Allah is in complete control. A cloud cannot even move an inch except that Allah is in control. Allah has control over the entirety of the universe, which is way bigger. Your problems and my problems in our life is nothing. Right? Nothing. We find, dunya so important, our work, our risk, our money, our this, our that, our financial issues, our family problems so big. Tafakkur. But look, ponder over the creation of the heavens and the earth. It will lead you to رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا. None of this Allah has created is in vain, just to play around, in batil, in false. Rather, everything is with purpose. Everything that goes on in your life is with purpose. You're going through a difficulty today, there's a reason for it. Are you suffering with your family? There's a reason for it. Are you suffering with your health? There's a reason for it. For every single thing, there's a reason. Everything, no matter how small it may be, no matter how small it may seem to you, everything happens with purpose, with reason. Allahu Akbar. And that's why then we say, رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا. You have not created any of this in vain. Subhanak. Perfect you are. Again, referring now to Tawheed. Tawheed. What is Tawheed? Asma wa Sifat. You look at the greatness of Allah in His creation. You can identify the greatness of Allah, the power of Allah in His creation, and His complete control. He's Al-Malik. قُلْ لَا أَمْلِكُ لِنَفْسِي ضَرًّا وَلَا نَفْعًا إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ. Say, I have no power. لَا أَمْلِكُ لِنَفْسِي. I have no power for myself to harm myself or to benefit myself. إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ. Except what Allah wills for me or wants for me. Again, this is what it should lead us to every single time. So everything that's happening in your life, and it has to lead you to the increasement of Iman. That's the main thing. Not just, comfort in times of your problems. No problem, Allah, He's always there. He will guide me through my issues. But your salah is not in order. No problem, Allah will heal me, Allah will do this, but your salah is not in order. No problem, Allah will do this, Allah will do that. Allah's always there, but where are you though? Allah's always there, but where are you? Is your forehead in sujood to Him? But then you say, Allah is sufficient for me, but where's your ibadah? Where's your righteousness? Where's your obedience to Him? Everything comes with balance. So when again we ponder over the heavens and the earth, it should lead us to the increasement of Iman, knowing that nothing happens in vain. What does that mean? Let me ask you the question. When you say, رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقَتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا سُبْحَانَكَ, so you acknowledged that nothing happens except with purpose. You've also acknowledged the greatness of Allah, the oneness of Allah, the power of Allah. فَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ, so save us from the fire. That should teach us, what do those who believe and who remember Allah a lot, because this is الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِم. Those who remember Allah a lot, whilst they are standing, they are sitting, they are on their sides, this leads them to the akhirah. When they ponder over the heaven and the earth, their purpose in life, everything, it leads to the akhirah. That the end goal is Jannah and Jahannam. So فَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ, save us from the fire. Because everything that happens in this life is nothing. It is small compared to Jahannam, compared to Jannah and Jahannam. Allahu Akbar. May Allah grant us all a good understanding. There's only one way we can actually implement the Qur'an in our lives, and that is through the Sunnah. That is through the Sunnah. Allah says, and we're going to divert a little bit from Surah Anbiya, we'll go to Surah Yunus. Allah, He gives us the proofs of Tawheed. وَاللَّهُ يَدْعُو إِلَى دَارِ السَّلَامِ. Allah invites you to the home of peace. And we'll just go over it very, very quickly, because we have just a couple of minutes, and we also want to go over this. So Allah invites you to the home of peace. The ayah before that, Allah is describing this life of its temporary nature. Everything comes, everything goes. No matter what you do in this life, you will lose in the end. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي khusr. Every insan is in loss, losing everything. But Allah invites you to Darus Salam, the home of peace, where you lose nothing, where you will always be in a state of peace, in a state of happiness, in a state of bliss. And then Allah, He explains the proofs of Tawheed. He says, قُلْ مَن يَرْزُقُكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Who provides for you from the heavens and the earth? Who can you tell me? Who provides for you from the heavens and the earth? Allah. أَمَّن يَمْلِكُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارِ. Who controls your sam'a, your hearing, and your absar, your sight? Who? Allah. وَمَن يُخْرِجُ الْحَيَّ مِنَ الْمَيِّتِ. Who takes out the life from the dead? Allah. وَمَن يُخْرِجُ الْمَيِّتِ مِنَ الْحَيِّ. And who takes out the dead from the life? From the living, sorry. وَمَن يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرِ. Who arranges each and every single affair in the heavens and the earth? فَسَيَقُولُونَ اللَّهِ. They all say Allah. فَقُلْ أَفَلَا تَتَّقُونَ. So then will you not have taqwa? Because even the Quraysh said Allah. But what did they do? They denied the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Muslims today say Allah. But how many of them deny the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Further, Allah, He says, وَمَا يَتَّبِعُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ إِلَّا ظَنًّا. That majority of them, they only follow dhann, their assumptions, their ideas. You look at atheists today, look at their morality. What is it based on? Their idea of morality. But إِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. Dhann, assumptions, thinking, ideas, does not benefit against the truth in any shape, manner or form. The people of truth, they do everything upon truth. What is truth? Bayyina, evidence. I'll give you an example. Let's say perhaps we come to the masjid. It is a dhann, assumption, that we can stand up before the salah when the imam hasn't come, right? But is there bayyina for that? Is there evidence for that? Is there any, sahih in the Qur'an, in the Sunnah that says you can do that? No. So then it's either they are just assuming that it's okay, that's dhann. Or they think that it is a sunnah, then that would be a bid'ah, right? So you have different things. May Allah protect us from all of them. Now Allah says, okay, you know what? The question is then, you don't want to assume anything. You don't just want to assume that something may be true, something may not be true. How can you get to the truth? Allah says in the very next ayah, وَمَا كَانَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنُ أَن يُفْتَرَى مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. It is not possible for this Qur'an to be invented by any other than Allah. Again, referring the truth is with the Qur'an. In the very next ayah right after that, if you don't believe in the authenticity of the Qur'an being Allah's word, قُلْ فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِثْلِهِ. Go make a surah just like it. How many people have tried in the past? Multiple people. Have they ever succeeded? No, they will never succeed. Okay, no problem. So we accept that the Qur'an is true. Oneness in Allah. It all began with Tawheed, right? Calling us to the Akhirah. And it began with the proof of Tawheed, Allah is one, He's in complete control, and that the Qur'an is the truth. But Allah says in the next ayah, which is powerful, powerful ayah, بَلْ كَذَّبُوا بِمَا لَمْ يُحِيطُوا بِعِلْمِهِ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِهِمْ تَأْوِيلُهُ. Rather they have denied, بَلْ كَذَّبُوا, they have given the lie, بِمَا لَمْ يُحِيطُوا بِعِلْمِهِ, what they have not encompassed in knowledge. Many examples we can take from this. Encompassing something in knowledge. Sometimes a person will come and tell you something. They say, there's evidence for it maybe in the Qur'an and the Sunnah, but you reject it before even listening to it. Then you have not tried to understand what is being said, but you've just turned your back on it. That can be a case. وَلَمَّا يَأْتِهِمْ تَأْوِيلُ. And the ta'wil has not come to you yet. Ta'wil has two meanings. Number one is interpretation. Ta'wil can mean interpretation, just like tafsir. Tafsir and ta'wil, the names are usually interchangeable. So the interpretation of the Qur'an. So the correct interpretation of the Qur'an has not yet come to you and you've already denied it. Sometimes a person will tell you something again, you have no idea that there's evidence for it. Which is why we always have to be asking for evidence. We have to be searching for the evidence, for the haqq, for the truth. But the other meaning for ta'wil is occurrence. Meaning, let's say if Allah says, أقيم الصلاة, stand for salah. At that point when we're standing for salah, that's the ta'wil of the ayah. Because it's occurring at that time. So number one, this ayah refers to ta'wilu, meaning the warnings, the punishments of Allah coming. They denied the truth before, seeing the punishment of Allah. They denied the truth before seeing Yawmul Akhirah or Yawmul Qiyamah. They denied all of it before its occurrence even came. But then even if you look at the inner meaning, it's referring to the Sunnah, because the only way for you to implement the Qur'an is through the Sunnah. That's the ta'wil. That's the occurrence. Because aqim is salah, no problem, go and stand for salah. How are you going to stand? Are you going to hop on one leg? Are you going to stand and turn around? You can stand however you want to stand, right? You want to reject the sunnah today, how are you going to stand? You're going to stand on your head? Imagine people coming for salah, hands down, mashallah. So ta'wil, occurrence. It can mean how to implement the Qur'an in your life. And so again, it all refers to the sunnah. Which was again in the very next ayah after that, or rather two ayat after that, Allah says, وَإِن كَذَّبُوكَ. But if they deny you, just like how the Quraysh denied his prophethood, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, today how many Muslims deny his sunnah in favor of other ways? Something to ponder over. Powerful message. May Allah protect us, may Allah guide us all to the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's the only way to implement the Qur'an in your life. So Allah says in Surah Anbiya, continuing on, as we know, Allah, He's been listing out for us His signs. أَوَلَمْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. Do those who disbelieve not see that the heavens and the earth were one mass and it was split apart? فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. We split it apart. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. And we created every living thing from water. The source, the origin of every living thing is water. أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So will they then not believe? Meaning any person who can see the truth in this, it should lead them to an increasement in Imaan, in believing in Allah and having faith in Allah. وَجَعَلْنَا فِي الْأَرْضِ رَوَاسِي. And we placed on the earth mountains, أَن تَمِيدَ بِهِمْ, lest it should be imbalanced and shake with them as they move around. It would be unstable. وَجَعَلْنَا فِيهَا فِجَاجًا سُبُلًا. We made between those mountains, or on those mountains, or in between, wide paths, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ, so that they may be guided, physically guided through it, so that they don't have to go all the way up the mountain and down. And also spiritually, they should be guided again to the Tawheed of Allah. That how is it they claim today that Big Bang Theory, everything burst into creation just by probability. And if you look at every single mountain placed precisely where it's precise, with every valley and every path precisely in its correct location, and it just came to be just like that. So no, it all leads back, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ, to the oneness of Allah, to the power of Allah, to Islam, to put it simply. وَجَعَلْنَا السَّمَاءَ سَقَفًا مَحْفُوظًا. And Allah made the sky as a ceiling, protecting the people. وَهُمْ عَنْ آيَاتِهَا مُعْرِضُونَ. Yet they turn away from these signs. Allahu Akbar. As believers, every single time we look at these creations of Allah, we should be thinking about these ayat. Train yourself to see this every single day. It helps you rectify your life. It helps you ensure that you're holding on to your purpose in life. Your purpose in life is to worship Allah and to have sabr in difficult times and to have shukr in good times. Allahu Akbar. So Allah continued to say, وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ. That He is the one who created the layl. Al-layl is the night, وَالنَّهَارَ is the day, وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ. And the sun and the moon. كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكِ يَسْبَحُونَ. All of it is afloat in its orbit. All in perfect sync. When you look at these signs, again, what should it lead you to? Look at the precision of Allah. لَا الشَّمْسُ يَنْبَغِي لَهَا أَن تُدْرِكَ الْقَمَرَ. But if you look at even the creation of the night and the day, He's the one who set it. It's a cycle. At one point it's dark, at one point it's light. Allah says in Surah Yunus that وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ الشَّمْسَ ضِيَاءً. It is He who made the sun as a ضِيَاءً, as a shining bright light. وَالْقَمَرَ نُورًا. And the moon as a reflected light. وَقَدَّرَهُ مَنَازِلَ لِتَعْلَمُوا عَدَدَ السِّنِينَ وَالْحِسَابِ. And He made for it phases, the moon, so that you may calculate لِتَعْلَمُوا عَدَدَ السِّنِينَ وَالْحِسَابِ. So you may be able to take into account the time, the date, the year. You may be able to calculate things. مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ ذَلِكَ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. Allah has not made any of this except with truth. And we went over, what does إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ mean? Number one, with purpose. Again, what's the purpose? Recognizing who Allah is, leading back to Tawheed, leading back to the power and the oneness of Allah. So Allah created all of this simply so that we may know who He is. The other meaning of bilhaq is injustice. To have everything in balance. And that you may know that if you disobey the very same being who you should recognize by now as the one almighty creator, then justice will be taken. For them will be Jahannam. And if you obey that very same maker, then Jannah will be yours, reward will be given. بَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَنَّ لَهُمْ قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. Give glad tidings for those who believe, أَنَّ لَهُمْ قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. That for them will be, number one, an honorable reward with their Lord. Number two, all of the good that they did in this life, they will find it with Allah. قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ also means an honorable position, that Allah will allow you to be close to Him. He will hold you in high regard. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. So again, everything, when you look at the creation of Allah, when you look at the signs of Allah, whenever Allah speaks of His signs, the Aayaat in the Qur'an, it should be leading you to Tawheed. If I say over here, وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ, what name of Allah are you thinking of? Al-Khaliq, the creator, the only one who can create. Allahu Akbar. Al-Badi' also the inventor. Al-Azim. Al-Azim, the greatest. So when you look at nighttime comes, nighttime is about to come. How is that leading you to the greatness of Allah? So much so that by the time we're standing in ruku' now and you're saying Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, your heart is going to be pouring it out. That's the real question. But this is what it comes down to, that when you look at the signs of Allah, if it increases you in Iman, what is the application of that? Is that your salah increases in quality. Again, if any ayah of the Qur'an you recite it and it doesn't increase your khushu', you have not benefited. You look at any sign of Allah and it does not increase your khushu' in your salah, the quality of your salah, you have not benefited. The Salafus Salihin, they used to make this dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min salatin la yanfa'. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from a salah that does not benefit me. May Allah grant us all a good understanding. I wasn't asking you the correct, full question for you to answer. It was a rhetorical. It should lead you to understand who Al-Azim is. Al-Azim, the most tremendous, the most great, the most majestic, you could say. Allahu Akbar. There's many meanings to Al-Azim, and we'll be studying the name soon, inshallah, after Fajr. But when you look at, again, the signs of Allah, the creation, it should lead you into understanding and recognizing that Allah is one, and that you will be returning to Him. And so it should help you with your focus in Salah. Number one, it all comes down to Salah. Right? It all comes down to Salah. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا. You have two types of people. Those who are excited, they look forward, they are optimistic to meet Allah. And those who وَرَضُوا بِالْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَاطْمَأَنُّوا بِهَا. They are happy with this life. They don't want to go to the next life. These are the only two types of people you will find in reality. For those who are excited to meet Allah, they know who Allah is. The moment they go into sujood and they say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, do we know what we're saying? When you say al-A'la, the one who created the heavens and the earth, the one who created the sun and the moon. How many apparently, scientifically, how many Earths can you fit inside the sun? Like 136 million or something like that. Yeah, I think we were mentioning this last week when we were speaking, is like, when you look at the size in the hadith, the first heaven compared to the second is like a ring in a desert, and the second compared to the third is like a ring in a desert. And when you already look at Earth, and you look at the stars, in just our galaxy is like a little dot. And then human beings, how tiny we are, it's like compared to the first heaven itself, we're not even the size of atoms. Right? We are not even the size of atoms compared to the first heaven. And then we're standing in salah, we're standing in front of the Lord that created everything. Like how one brother told me, imagine when you go for an interview, and in the interview, are you going to be moving around, playing around, scratching your head, doing this and this and that? Imagine you're having an interview with the king. You're like, no. So how then can we do it over here when we're standing in front of Allah? We have